What a marvelous day it is. Today is Sunday, June 4th, 2017, the day of Pentecost. This is Marcia Burke. I will be reading about the coming of the Holy Spirit, found in Acts chapter 2. But before I do, I would like to recap our last reading. Remember, we read that Jesus ascended to heaven, that is, he returned to heaven to be with God the Father. But before he left, he instructed his disciples to wait in Jerusalem for the promise of the Holy Spirit. Christ also told them that the Holy Spirit would give them power to become witnesses for him in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. Let's begin our reading about the coming of the Holy Spirit. When the day of Pentecost had come, the disciples were all gathered together in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, like a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them tongues of flame, which sat upon each of them, and they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak in other languages, as the Spirit led them to speak. Now there were living in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. And when this news spread, the multitude came together, and were confounded, because every man heard them speak in his own language. They were all amazed and marveled, saying to one another, "Behold, are not all these who speak Galileans? How is it that each of us hears his own language from where he was born? Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and the dwellers of Mesopotamia, and of Judea, and Cappadocia, and Pontus, and Asia, and Phrygia, and Pamphylia of Egypt, and the parts of Libya around Crete, Cyrene, and strangers from Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretans and Arabs. We hear them speak in our own tongues of the wonderful works of God." They were all amazed and wondered, saying to one another, "What does this mean?" Others, mocking, said, "These men are full of new wine." But Peter, standing up with the 11, for they had chosen Matthias to take the place of the traitor Judas, lifted up his voice and said to them, "You men of Judea, and all you who live in Jerusalem, listen to my words, and know this: these men are not drunken, as you suppose. For it is only the 9th hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by God to the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days that I will pour out my Spirit upon all men. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. And your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams." And he told them of Jesus the Christ, the Son of God. Then those who gladly received his words were baptized, and that same day were added to them about 3,000 souls. They followed faithfully the apostles' teaching and fellowship, breaking bread together and praying. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders were done by the apostles. All that believed were together and owned all things in common. They sold their possessions and goods and divided the money among all the people as each had need of it. Daily they went together to the temple, and from house to house they ate with gladness and singleness of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who would be saved. This concludes our reading of the coming of the Holy Spirit, the day of Pentecost.